All right, Mr. Everything here. This is part 2 of the bus knowledge. And it's my page 8. So, brake inspections. On hydraulic brakes, you must do an brake inspection as well, not just air brakes. Moderately apply the brake and hold the pedal. If the pedal drops, take the vehicle out of service. If the hydraulic brakes have power assist pump, brakes with the engine stopped to eliminate the power assist. Apply the brakes moderately and hold. Start the engine, and in this case there should be a small pedal drop, but it should stop quickly. If the pedal does not stop in a very little amount, or the pedal has like it just goes all the way down, extensive drop, it must be taken out of service. Never take a chance with the brakes that are not working properly. Never fan the brakes. That's pumping the brakes, except on slippery surfaces. There's no point on dry surfaces to pump your brakes when you're stopping. Avoid excessive use of your brakes. It doesn't matter if you're air brakes, hydraulic brakes, or whatever. You just gotta avoid using brakes too much. Remember, because of that heated brake, they get hot and they get brake fade and they malfunction. Brakes don't like excessive heat. Fanning the brakes on dry pavement or even going downhill serves no purpose whatsoever. You should gear down on hills, and you're supposed to use the same gear that going down a hill as you would going up. A lot of people don't know that. Brake retarders are a great thing for preserving brakes from heat and overuse, and they're starting to be used much more now. All right, there are 3 types of brake retarders. There's exhaust brakes, engine brakes, and driveline retarders. Brake retarders may be automatic or switched. You might have switches. Retarders work in conjunction with the service brakes. Exhaust and engine retarders are prohibited in many areas because of the annoying excessive noise. If you ever seen those signs, please do not use engine brakes. Driveline retarders are hard on the transmission, unfortunately, and auto shutdown could occur if the transmission gets too hot. Do not use retarders on slippery surfaces. If a wheel lockup or slide occurs because you forgot to shut off the retarders, shut them off immediately. On highways, commercial vehicles must have 200 feet, which is 60 meters, space between them, between each vehicle, at 60 or more kilometers an hour, unless they're overtaking or passing. And we all know that is rare, because that never happens. So how many times have you tried to go on a highway and the trucks are so close to each other you can't even get on? You know, that's not right. All right, so buses must stop at all railway crossings. Wherever you see that X sign marking out a railway crossing, you must stop. And we have some in town here where I am. There's no more train tracks, but they left the signs up. So what are you supposed to do? Well, I don't think anybody would ever ticket you for driving through them, especially since there's no tracks. But for some reason, They left everything up. Even the overhead lights. It's so weird. I should get a picture of that for you, but it's too far uptown. Anyway, if a train is coming, the buses must stop 5 meters from the nearest rail. So never try to race a train. If you see it and you think you got plenty of room, never try to race the train and get through the tracks fast. Not a good idea, even if it looks like it's so slow. One of those big ones. You just gotta be smart. Never race a train. And always wait for the flashing lights to stop before you proceed, especially in a bus. Never ever stop on the railway tracks in a traffic jam. You know, sometimes they have these tracks with almost no train traffic, and then you get stuck on the tracks and you have to stop. No, you do not want that. Always share the road and leave room for people. Do not intimidate other drivers because you have a big vehicle. Do not follow too close. Slow down when people pass you or are passing you. Always signal well before acting. Slow vehicles down to a bike have legal right to the whole lane. Slow moving vehicles. So you got to watch that. Motorcyclers commonly forget to shut off their turn signals, and I know that because I'm one of them. And yeah, those signals don't cancel, and you always forget them on. So always watch for that. It's a common thing. Bikes and mopeds are expected to be 1 meter from the curb, out 1 meter from the curb or any parked cars. So give them their extra room and make sure they absolutely have their 1 meter at minimum. All right. It might be necessary for bikes to be crossing at 90-degree angles to any track, so always watch for that. It is the law to maintain that 1 meter distance. With people and slow-moving vehicles on the side of the road. And also all two-wheeled vehicles, especially when passing them. If you stay too close to bikes, it is two demerit points. If you're under that meter, and it's could be a $60 to $500 fine. Always give extra room or change lanes to pass bikes. Always scan for cyclists at every turn maneuver, especially. Avoid honking if you're too close. If you're very close to cyclists, you may startle them, and they may turn into you, or traffic. Where possible, make eye contact with cyclists. Observe and obey the painted bike box areas at lights and bike lanes. Check for cyclists before opening any door, like you just saw there. Pedestrians and small driving devices should use the left shoulder so that they are heading toward oncoming traffic. Or mobility devices, but you know, it's just doesn't happen that way all the time. A driver must have 10 hours off duty. All right, we're going to get into duty hours. A bus driver must have 10 hours off duty a day. Maximum drive is 13 hours in one day. You cannot drive if you have worked 14 hours, driving or not. So that's 14 on-duty hours. Once you have that, you can no longer drive for that day. There are exceptions, though, in the regulations. And I'm sure your company would make you aware of that if they asked you to do that, but who wants to work that much? All right, after at least 8 hours off duty hours, you cannot drive more than 13 hours. And after at least 8 hours off, you cannot drive if you have been on duty 14 hours. And that's driving or not. And then after at least 8 hours off duty, you cannot drive after 16 hours have elapsed. So your operator must designate a cycle for the driver to follow. And apparently there are 2 driving cycles available. One is a 7-day cycle, and one is the 14-day cycle. All right, so after being on duty for 70 hours in a 7-day period, you cannot drive a truck or a bus. After being on duty for 120 hours in 14 days, you cannot drive. A driver must take 24 hours off after every 70 hours. Let me repeat that. After a 7-day period, you cannot drive a truck. Wait a minute. Yeah, if you've been on duty for 70 hours in a 7-day period, you cannot drive a truck or a bus. After being on duty for 120 hours in a 14-day period, you cannot drive a bus or a truck. Driver must take 24 hours off after every 70 hours. On a day, on any day, drivers must have at least 24 hours off before reaching the 14th day. This is complicated stuff. On any day, drivers must have at least 24 hours off before reaching the 14th day. If going from a 7-day cycle to a new cycle, the driver must have 36 consecutive hours off duty. If going from a 14-day cycle to a new cycle, the driver must have 72 consecutive hours off. A daily log must be kept, whether it's on a computer, recorded audio, or handwritten. Daily logs must contain the driver's name, any co-drivers, the start time if it's not at midnight. If you don't have a start time written down, they're going to assume you started at midnight. So you got to have a start time. You have to write down what cycle you are on. You have to write down your odometer reading. And you have to write down all the plate numbers of the vehicles you are using. And if you're using trailers, you need all their plate numbers written down. And the name of the operator. You need your operations name down there, the company name or the title, the person who is the main operator. The driver is not usually the operator. The operator is the one who is running things. The driver or the company. The driver's terminal. Oh, I don't know why I wrote that. Oh yeah, you have to write down the terminal the driver's from. Um, the operator's address. You have to do that graph grid form filled out unless you are audio recording. The the stop and start of all duty status. Yeah, all duty status, even off duty status is written down. Location changes have to be written down, and if your duty status changes, you must write it down. The amount of time on each duty status must be written down. The time, the end time of the odometer, and the driver's signature must accompany at the end. All right. No log is needed if you drive within a 160 kilometer radius. Excuse me. I should have hit pause, but anyway, if you return to the same start location at the end of your day, and it's you're working in a 160 kilometer radius, and you work for only one operator in a given day, then you do not need a log. Alright, so if you're not required to keep a log, you still need a record of the date, the name, your name, the locations of the start and the location of the finish, the cycle you are on, your shift, your shift start and end times, your hours in each duty status. Always drive 200 feet between commercial vehicles on the highway. That's 60 meters. And around here, that's rare to see. You must use low beams when oncoming traffic is within 200 feet or 60 meters. Yeah, the funny thing is, most of those buses have terrible headlights, and you can't see anything with your low beams on. And even the high beams don't shine very bright. In the fog, you are to use the right edge of the road rather than the center line. So keep an eye on your right edge, your road edge, and stay as close to it as possible. If you have a breakdown, try to get to the furthest right as possible. In a breakdown, alright, so if you're in a breakdown, you have to put the reflectors 30 meters or 100 feet in front of your vehicle and 30 meters or 100 feet behind your vehicle. They must be visible from 150 to 500 feet away. And then collisions exceeding $2,000 must be reported to the police. And then in any collision, always get under 2,000, or regardless, but especially under 2,000 where you don't have to report it. Get the names and addresses and phone numbers of any witnesses as well, and exchange information with the other driver. If the damage of the collision is, so don't forget that information exchange if the damage is under 2,000. And don't wait too long to inform your insurance company if you're putting in a claim. Now, apparently, vehicle fires are usually caused by 5 things: fuel leaks, electrical short, overheated brakes, underinflated or flat tires, and wheel bearing failures. Buses must have an inspected, fully functional fire extinguisher, and all bus stops must have a clear view of 150 meters or 500 feet away. That'll be the day. Sorry about my comments there. All right, so we're coming into the 20-minute stretch. I'm gonna have to go to a part 3 after this, but let me finish this page. Bus stops must be on the traveled portion of the road. You don't stop your bus off to the side like a transit. School buses must stop on the traveled portion of the road. Do not let students on or off till the traffic is stopped. Never overload a bus over its rated capacity. If they're putting too many kids in your bus, you have to deal with it right away. Do not activate your AFLs, those flashing reds, at traffic lights if letting on or off passengers. At traffic lights, pull as right as possible and caution passengers to obey the traffic lights because you're not using your AFLs, remember. So that is the one circumstance where you will pull to the right and leave some extra room on the traveled portion of the road. If you are 60 meters from a traffic light intersection, you may use your AFLs, but don't use them if you're any closer than 60 meters. In school bus loading zones, pull right. There's another reason to pull to the right. Stay between the loading zone signs. Do not use your AFLs and stop signs or anything in a school loading zone. Never load or unload people on the opposite side of a school zone bus loading zone signs. So if you're on the wrong side of the road and you see did not have the school bus loading zone on your side, you will have to drive around and reposition yourself on the proper side of the road between those signs. All passengers should load promptly and must be seated before the bus moves. The bus must be fully stopped if anyone is boarding or exiting. Passengers should not obstruct driver's view to the front, sides, or rear. Passengers need to stay seated until the full stop has been made. Passengers leaving and crossing must cross in front of the bus, about 3 meters or 10 feet in front. When one or more child is crossing, they should cross as a group. The driver should give the group the go-ahead to cross after waiting as a group on the right shoulder or curb. Yeah, I've never seen that. Try to organize that. Other passengers off the bus not crossing should stay grouped together away from the bus until the bus moves away. That'll be the day. Some of this stuff is just impossible to enforce as a bus driver. Passengers leaving the bus should always be observing traffic as they cross. Yeah, right. They never do that too, no matter how many times you tell them. Sorry, I'm a little bitter about those rules when they become impossible tasks for the driver. All right, that's enough. 24, 25 minutes. We will start a part 3. Thank you very much.